The internet has sold us the idea that discipline is the silver bullet to all your problems. Whether you can't get in shape, can't build a career, or can't fix whatever feels broken, the answer is always the same: to grind harder, hustle longer, and white knuckle your way through. The reason you are not where you want to be is because you're not waking up early enough, you're not pushing hard enough, you're not bashing your head against a brick wall hard enough, and that's why it isn't breaking. Discipline has become an overglorified virtue that supposedly contains all the others, the sole characteristic separating the people from those who make it and those who don't. But discipline is not just a virtue, it is a product, and someone somewhere is profiting from your belief in it. Near the end of the Second World War, a Japanese lieutenant by the name of Hiru Onoda was sent to a small island in the Philippines and told to hold the ground and never surrender. And for the next 29 years, he did exactly that. He lived in the jungle, he rationed rice, he refused every leaflet, every loudspeaker, and every messenger that came to tell him the war was over. He obeyed the order he had been given with a sense of discipline almost no living person could match. You might not realize it, but the same pointless discipline still exists at large in the modern era. He does not live in a jungle, but rather in a morning routine. Because hidden inside every morning routine is an assumption that you are not disciplined enough. And so to fix it, you force yourself to wake up at 5 in the morning and submerge yourself in ice cold water, read exactly 20 minutes, and journal your thoughts whilst everyone is still asleep. And before long, you've spent the better part of your first waking hours completing a checklist that someone else wrote for you. And almost no one stops to ask whether any of this actually moves you closer to what you want, or whether it only feels like it should. Because there is a quiet arrogance hidden inside relentless and unwavering discipline. It assumes the only thing standing between you and the life you want is your willingness to suffer for it, that the problem is always the amount of effort and never the direction of it. And so you push harder and you wake earlier, and you pour more hours and more years into a road you never stopped once to survey. And the whole time, the question you never let yourself ask is whether the road even leads anywhere you would actually want to arrive. This is discipline's most useful quality, not to you, but to the people selling it to you. Because if you accept that your outcomes are a direct reflection of your effort, and that your failure is always your own doing, then it isn't the course or the system that failed you. It is always, quietly, and inevitably, you. You see, once you understand who profits from your belief in discipline, you will begin to realize that escaping the matrix by the internet standard is ironically the most blue-pilled thing you can do, because there is a piece of economics folded underneath it that almost no one bothers to check. So for a second, think about what most of these gurus are actually trying to sell you. It is rarely the method itself, it is the version of themselves standing next to it, the car that is almost certainly rented, and the 10x plastered over a slide, a stack of testimonials that are somehow always a screenshot and never a bank statement. See, the lifestyle is the product, the method is just what you tell people you paid for. And yet they don't have to fake it forever. Once enough naive people believe their words, they'll have enough money to buy the real thing, which only makes more people believe them. Some of them convince you by conflating two entirely different games. They draw parallels between going to the gym and making money. Everyone knows the gym works, so why isn't everybody fit? Implying the answer could only ever be laziness, and never the person's starting point, never their circumstances, and never anything structural. And once you have accepted that question, you have already accepted its deformed twin, that their method works, so why aren't you rich yet? And again, the blame has moved off the method and onto you and your lack of so-called discipline. But here's another question for you to think about. If the method truly worked, if it printed results being advertised, why would they want you to have it? Every person he teaches becomes a competitor, and every competitor thins the margins. A method that genuinely works is a thing you guard and not a thing you break into 12 modules and sell to the internet. The moment a strategy becomes widely known, it stops working. The moment a method becomes a course, it has usually already stopped working for the man selling it. The product was never the method, but rather the belief in the method. And the thing that makes the whole arrangement almost impossible to disprove is the same thing that made you such a good customer to begin with. Because when the method does not deliver, the blame slides quietly onto you. You did not follow the system precisely enough, or you broke the routine, or you missed the morning. Your effort was not pure enough. The map is never wrong, you're the one who cannot read it. And so you buy the next thing because clearly the missing ingredient was you. You can be the most disciplined fisherman in the world, but if the pond is empty, then the discipline was never the problem. So if discipline isn't the answer, then what exactly is the key to success? Before I answer this, let me finish the story of Onoda. In 1974, a young Japanese student named Norio Suzuki flew to the Philippines with a plan almost no one took seriously. He told everyone that he was going to find Onoda, and somehow within 4 days he did. He then proceeded to tell Onoda that the war had ended 29 years earlier. Onoda refused to believe him, so Suzuki flew back to Japan, found Onoda's former commanding officer, who was now a man that was just a quiet bookseller, and he brought him to the jungle to personally relieve Onoda of duty, and only then did Onoda hand over his rifle. If discipline were the answer, then Onoda would be a hero, but rather he serves as a warning. It should be clear by now that discipline should never be the navigator, but it also should not be considered as the only fuel you spend, and like anything you spend, it can and will eventually run out. The ones who go furthest are rarely the ones grinding the hardest. Often they are not grinding at all. You see, Aristotle drew a line between two kinds of activities. There are things you do for the sake of something else, the means to an end, and valuable only for what they produce. And there are things that are complete in themselves that you would do even if they led nowhere, because the doing is its own reward. A life spent entirely on the first kind is a life spent permanently deferring the moment it begins. The mistake is to treat discipline as the fuel when it was only ever meant to be the ignition. Discipline is supposed to start the engine, not be the engine. And once you stop treating it as the source of the movement, the effective strategies quietly become obvious. And if you want to try apply discipline meaningfully towards building wealth, perhaps try a problem that both you and the market want solved. You almost never hear about someone getting rich by following an internet course, but you do often hear about people getting rich by solving a problem they cared about long before anyone paid them to. Discipline was never the thing that started them, but rather the problem, and that is why they were still there 10 years in when the disciplined ones had already fallen off. None of this makes discipline worthless. The ability to do hard things over and over without being forced is genuinely rare. But it was never about the destination, it was about the ignition. The moment the engine took over, discipline had done its job. If you're still running on it years in, then you're not being virtuous, you're just running on fumes. Because it was never truly about how hard you were working, it was always whether the work was directed at something real, something you would still be doing if no one was paying you for it. But for many, discipline is being used as fuel to fund someone else's dreams. So don't be the soldier that spent 29 years of their life fighting someone's dream that even they themselves gave up on. Look up every once in a while and check your compass.